For all its beauty and splendor, the sea can be a cruel teacher. The joy of kayaking lies in the intimate connection it fosters with nature's elements. It's about drifting into the unknown, feeling the water's pulse under your craft, and witnessing the world from an ever-shifting perspective. Yet, amid the exhilaration lies a very real danger. The waters, though inviting, can be unforgiving. Kayaking isn't just a leisurely pursuit, it's a dance with risk. It calls for respect, preparation, and unwavering vigilance, or you can find yourself paddling for dear life. Please click the subscribe and like buttons. This is Outdoor Disasters. The San Juan Islands are a stunning archipelago nestled in Puget Sound of the Pacific Northwest, located between the northwest coast of Washington State and Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. Each island is a gem in its own right, where rugged coastlines meet pristine beaches and emerald forests cascade down to meet the tides. This is the San Juan Islands, a haven for adventurers and dreamers alike. The islands offer a tapestry of experiences from the tranquil bays ideal for kayaking to the thrilling encounters with orca whales. A collection of around 172 named islands and islets. These islands offer a breathtaking blend of natural beauty, outdoor adventures, and a rich cultural history. The islands cater to outdoor enthusiasts with kayaking, sailing, hiking, and biking activities. There are numerous parks and trails, such as Moran State Park on Orcas Island, offering hiking trails and breathtaking views from the summit of Mount Constitution. Access to the San Juan Islands is primarily by ferry from Anacortes, Washington. There are also options for seaplane and boat charters from Seattle and other nearby areas. The San Juan Islands whisper tales of exploration, conservation, and tranquility. They beckon travelers to slow down, to savor the moment, and to find solace in the symphony of nature. Whether it's the thrill of adventure or the serenity of solitude you seek, these islands promise an experience that transcends mere travel, an unforgettable experience for adventurers and nature enthusiasts. For Larry Kaiser, his kayaking adventure would be a nightmare. At 3:45 p.m. in November 1995, Saul Kenderis gets ready on the shore for a kayak outing alongside his close friend and former teammate, Larry Kaiser. Although it's past the usual sea kayaking season, endurance athlete Saul Kenderis is determined to explore the renowned kayaking spot, the San Juan Islands. While both Saul and Larry Kaiser are regular weekend adventurers, this is their first time kayaking together. They plan to visit Strawberry Island and then head to a clothing-optional resort in Doe Bay, aiming to unwind in a hot tub. Larry's late arrival, about 4 hours behind schedule, visibly agitates Saul. Despite their friendship, their relationship is defined by fierce competition. Larry expresses his readiness for any physical challenge thrown by Saul, seeing it as a chance to outdo his friend. I'm up for any kind of challenge like that, any kind of physical challenge, especially if Saul throws that at me. If he can do it, I can do it, and not only if he can do it, I can do it, but I can do it better, Larry expressed. Competitive would probably be a defining and describing characteristic of our friendship. We tended to compete in almost anything, Saul said. The two embark on their adventure at night, a risky decision even for experienced kayakers, particularly during winter. Unfamiliar with kayaking, Larry feels uneasy about venturing into the open sea in the dark. Setting out at night, people die every year kayaking in the San Juans, but that danger is exciting. It's a thrill. I'm thinking I'm invincible, Larry stated. Paddling off the coast of Anacortes, Washington into the San Juan Islands, they navigate the perilous Rosario Strait towards their first destination, Strawberry Island. They are pressed for time, knowing they must cross swiftly before the tide turns against them. However, during their journey, Larry struggles to maneuver the kayak and grapples with the mechanics, failing to adjust the foot pedals before setting off. I'm just kind of trying to fake it, and that's the first time I'd set my ass in a kayak. I'd never been in one before, Larry proclaimed. Saul realizes Larry's lack of experience and becomes anxious about the daunting trip with a novice paddler. As they brave treacherous waters in the darkness, the kayak trip seems to be heading towards disaster. Eventually, Larry and Saul arrive at Strawberry Island, but they're behind schedule. The only available landing spot is a sandy beach surrounded by hazardous rocks. As darkness envelops them, they encounter the fierce tidal currents swirling around the island, earning the area its ominous nickname, the Witch's Cauldron. Saul, the seasoned kayaker, formulates a plan to navigate through sharp rocks, using his headlamp to signal Larry to paddle in its direction. Amidst the darkness and crashing waves, Larry feels terrified. "Aim for the flashlight and paddle hard," Saul urges. Saul desperately maneuvers towards the shore, grappling with the rocks and the perilous waves. However, as Kenderis progresses, he collides with the rocks. Larry tries desperately to warn Kaiser against approaching him, but amidst the cacophony of the crashing sea, Saul's headlamp is the only thing Larry can see, failing to make out Larry's cautionary message. Larry, spotting Saul's headlamps, steers towards him and crashes his boat into Saul's, resulting in both flipping into the water. Stranded, the duo manages to reach the land, but their kayaks remain in the water. Fortunately, their kayaks wash ashore, enabling them to salvage their belongings. Sadly, Larry hadn't properly sealed his dry bag, and its contents, made of cotton, were soaked and rendered unusable by the storm. As the tempest outside soaked them, a sense of demoralization lingered between the friends. By that point, I truly realized my assumptions were not correct on his level of preparedness. I'm the guide on the trip, and Larry was more or less along for the trip. If I got in trouble, he wouldn't be able to help me because he was so far out of his element, Kenderis expressed. Larry and Saul's planned 9-day adventure hits a snag as the weather worsens, and Larry's gear remains soaked. Realizing the challenge ahead isn't feasible for both of them, Saul makes a call. "I've rapidly realized the trip I planned isn't within our reach, not for the two of us together. It's not going to work. It just wouldn't be a prudent thing to do," Saul expressed. Frustrated, Saul cancels the trip, deciding it's time to paddle back to their vehicles. He outlines a few options. One was seeking help from a nearby island, another was stashing the boats at Orcas Island and taking the ferry home, and the third, toughest choice, was to paddle 3 miles back across the Rosario Strait. Wanting Larry to decide, Saul presented the options, and in their typical competitive manner, Larry chose option 3. "What won out in the very end is the same thing that got us in trouble here. It's the same thing that's got us in trouble in other times. It's our competitive nature. If he can paddle across the channel, I can paddle across the channel. When we get together, maybe we don't make the best decisions as a team," Larry admitted. Unaware of the impending storm, they head into danger. Soon, they're faced with severe gusts and a massive storm swell. The conditions turn perilous, and they'll face worse without swift movement. As they paddle, Kaiser's kayak takes on water due to his unfamiliarity with paddling techniques. "Do you understand anything I'm saying, Saul? Stabilizing strokes do you no good," Saul shouted. Larry confessed he'd never been in a kayak before. Kenderis tried to guide him, but their progress slowed in the channel, aggravated by wind and waves pushing them off course. Tensions rise as Kaiser's boat starts to sink. Saul realizes the danger they're in and makes a tough choice. "I figured that it was a good possibility that we could get killed. I was starting to have these doubts in my mind that we were going to be able to stick together. Your loyalty is to your friends, but then your first loyalty is to yourself. You're slowly getting to this decision. It's not an easy decision to get to. The key for my survival and even his survival was that I make it to shore and get help." As Saul heads for help, Larry calls out, but Saul is resolute in reaching land. To Kaiser, it felt like abandonment. "I can't see Saul anymore. He's gone. He's just not there. You don't leave your buddies, you don't leave your friends behind. I love the guy, but he left me." Saul presses on vigorously toward land, finally reaching the shore. He rushes to a phone and contacts authorities, alerting them that his friend is stranded in the Rosario Strait. Meanwhile, Larry struggles to paddle to safety when a large wave topples his boat. While Larry Kaiser isn't flipped upside down, he finds himself treading water at the mercy of the current, drifting into the open ocean. I'm getting scared at that time. Each minute is just, it's like some critical mass building and building and building, and it's not getting any better. It's just it continues to get worse. It's getting dark, and there's no one here to not only save me or rescue me, but no one knows where the hell I'm even at. I'm starting to have some self-doubt, Kaiser expressed. Larry manages to cling to the boat and spots land not too far ahead. Unaware that swimming against the current would be futile, he decides to leave the boat behind, relying on his dry suit and athleticism. However, battling the forces of Mother Nature proved more challenging than he had anticipated. A full hour has passed since Larry's boat capsized, and a large-scale rescue operation is underway, but Larry remains nearly invisible without the lights or flares from his kayak. having forgotten the flashlight taped to the bow. Back ashore, Saul Kenderis is overwhelmed with worry, contemplating whether leaving Larry behind was a mistake. I was thinking, okay, I know me, I know Larry. If there are people that can survive for a long period of time just by being stubborn and being fit enough, we fit that description, he reflected. Several miles away, a search team locates a red kayak on an island, sparking hope in Saul's heart, believing Larry has reached safety. He contacts Larry's parents to assure them he's safe, unaware that Larry is still swimming in the darkness, being pulled farther into the Pacific. As time passes and the SR teams realize the boat has drifted unmanned to the island, Saul's hope diminishes. At this point, I'm really going, man. We're in trouble. I really screwed up. He's dead. We're going to find the body. You realize that somebody that you're fairly close to is no longer here, and you're the one that killed him. Just an incredible sense of no hope again. Why did I invite him on this trip without making sure that we were both ready for this trip? It's almost like saying, what the hell was I thinking? He agonized. Saul makes the painful call back to the Kaisers, admitting it's the most challenging call he's ever had to make. The Coast Guard suspends the search for the night, anticipating they'll be looking for Larry's body come morning. Meanwhile, adrift at sea, Larry Kaiser spots a buoy and tries to swim toward it, but the strong current carries him past it. With hope dwindling, he senses the imminent threat of death. Exhausted and with a plummeting body temperature, Larry knows his life hangs in the balance. He contemplates ending it all. I really thought just end it. Now, why even bother with this? I thought about, trying to essentially drown myself. You think about weird stuff like that, and that's when they start thinking about my mom, and I love my parents, I love my dad, I love my family. What do you say? I was ready to die. It's not an issue. I didn't want them to feel that suffering and pain and not know what happened to me, he expressed. As Larry continues drifting, he notices a lighthouse ahead, drifting toward it with the current's help. Luckily, a side current brings him close to the last piece of land before being swept into the Pacific Ocean. Reinvigorated with hope, Larry musters all his remaining strength to reach the island. It's getting closer and closer. I'm like, I'm gonna make this, my God. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. I come up on the shore, and there's this big rock right there. And I just swim up and put my arms around this rock. This is the most beautiful rock I've seen in my life. That's all I could think of. No one else, nothing else, just lie there and enjoy this rock, this stupid rock that was my buddy, Larry recounted. Having survived 9 hours in the freezing ocean, Larry Kaiser now faces a desperate battle to keep warm on land, cold, and in darkness, uncertain of his location. Reflecting, he pondered, I thought about what the hell is Saul doing right now? What's he thinking right now? What is this man thinking? Is he thinking that I'm dead? Is he thinking he killed me? Is he thinking he's responsible for killing me? The big difference between him and I is there's just not a chance in hell I would leave someone like that. I wouldn't do that no matter what happens. If the person I'm with is going to die, I will die with them. Upon waking up, Larry presumes he's on the mainland, hoping to reach the lighthouse he spotted the previous night for help. However, his hope turns to horror when he realizes the lighthouse he saw belonged to another stretch of land, leaving him stranded on a different island with the lighthouse across another strait. To make it there, he faces another mile of freezing water, dehydrated and hypothermic, at the mercy of dangerous currents. As he swims, he abruptly halts and glances back to find a search helicopter hovering where he stood just an hour before. "You gotta be kidding me," he exclaimed. Meanwhile, back on shore, Kenderis, still in kayak gear, paces anxiously, troubled about Larry and reflecting on the decisions made that day. Over time, finding Larry, I became increasingly uncertain if I made the right call. Not only did you get your friend killed, but it's proof you're a failure, he confessed. But, amidst these thoughts, Kaiser astonishingly reaches the island with the lighthouse after swimming a mile. Unfortunately, it turns out to be an uninhabited lighthouse, and hope dwindles. As Larry rests by the lighthouse's entrance, a helicopter spots him, finally marking the end of his day-long ordeal at sea. Simultaneously, Saul receives news of his friend's rescue and rushes to the hospital. Upon Saul's arrival at the hospital, he finds Larry undergoing treatment. "Hey, Larry, you okay?" "I guess so. You left me," Larry expressed, his tone stern. "I'm just glad you're okay," Saul responded. The tension dissolved into a grin and laughter shared between the two friends. With who I am, I wanted him not to feel guilty. I wanted him to hopefully be relieved in the fact that I'm okay. Do I hold a grudge against him for doing that? No, I don't. Despite their ordeal, Saul and Larry maintain their friendship and have even explored kayaking together in the San Juans. However, they never broach the subject of what occurred, nor can they find common ground on whether Saul's decision to leave his friend behind was justified. To kayak is to court the unknown, experience the thrill of the untamed, and grapple with nature's raw forces. It's a choice to waltz on the fine line between awe-inspiring escapades and unfathomable perils. Every stroke of the paddle in this adventure is a dance with danger, an acknowledgement that the whims of nature can tip the balance between safety and calamity. It's an endeavor that promises freedom and exhilaration, yet always lurks with the specter of the unpredictable, where the unwary find themselves ensnared in the clutches of the unforgiving sea. Survival at sea, especially when stranded on a kayak, demands quick thinking and resourcefulness. Panic can lead to irrational decisions. Try to stay calm and conserve energy. Your kayak can offer protection from the elements and make you more visible to rescuers. Don't abandon it unless absolutely necessary. Use any available signaling devices like whistles, mirrors, or flares to attract attention. High visibility clothing or signaling panels can be useful. Wear a life jacket at all times. If available, use a wetsuit or dry suit to protect against hypothermia. If possible, position yourself to minimize exposure to wind and waves. This might involve getting onto the kayak to elevate yourself out of the water. Look for potential hazards or nearby land. Be cautious if considering swimming for help, as currents can be treacherous. If you can, huddle into a fetal position to preserve body heat. If you find flotsam or other floating objects, use them for additional buoyancy or to help stay afloat. See reflective materials or bright-colored items to make yourself more visible to passing boats or aircraft. The line between delight and disaster is as thin as the blade slicing through the water in kayaking. It's a sport that demands respect, which must be earned through an understanding of its treacherous depths and unforgiving currents. Important tips so you can navigate an outdoor disaster. Thank you for watching. Want more outdoor disaster content? Check out these stories I believe you'll enjoy.